Hello everyone and welcome to the All Eyes on Paris series brought to you by The Athlete's Story, where you'll get up close and personal with the best beach volleyball players in the world as they head towards the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. I'm your host Kerry Pothast, motivational speaker and storytelling coach. I also competed in 3 Olympic Games in the sport of beach volleyball, and I was fortunate enough to have the stars align back in 2000 when Nat Cook and I won gold at our home Olympics in Sydney. Now, we all know that storytelling brings big events like the Olympics alive and connects us with the competitors on a much more personal level, which is why All Eyes on Paris will be following the top players and delving into their personal journeys, uncovering their magic and helping you get to know them better, all while they are on their road to Paris. So whether you're a fan, an aspiring beach volleyball player, or you're just looking for some inspiration, get ready for an exhilarating journey into the world of these elite athletes. With me today from Team USA's current #1 team, Kristen Nuss. She was born and raised in New Orleans and fell in love with beach volleyball in high school. She went on to Louisiana State University, where she was named 3-time All-American. She debuted on the Volleyball World Beach Pro Tour in 2022 with her partner Taryn Cloth, and currently they are #2 in the world behind Ana Patricia and Duda from Brazil. 21 events on the World Tour so far with Taryn has netted them 5 golds, 2 silvers and 2 bronze medals. Kristen was named the AVP Best Defensive Player in 2023 and also the Most Valuable Player for 2023. They were the Team of the Year in 2022 and 2023 and the FIVB Volleyball Magazine Best Defensive Player in 2023. Hi, Kristen. Welcome to All Eyes on Paris.
Thank you for having me. Super excited about it.
Yeah, I'm really stoked that you can join us. I know that you're in pre-season training. Where are you at the moment?
I'm actually in Hermosa Beach, California. We come out in the winter time just because we typically train back at home in Louisiana, but with winter, we never really know what the weather will be like. So we come out for a month to 2 months out in California since the weather is pretty reasonable.
So who are you training with out there? Have you got other training partners from the tour, or are you just doing your own thing with your own coaches?
Honestly, this is the first year that we are just kind of doing our own thing. We're currently training with some juniors players that just came out for the month. In the past, we have done a bunch of training with all the other athletes here, but yeah, this year we kind of just made our own schedule and just doing our own thing.
That's going well, I imagine.
Yeah, this past week was our first week back, full gym and sand. And by the end of the week, both Taryn and I, we were dying. Just getting back into it is like so hard. But the start of this week has been better. We're getting better, and we're excited.
So give us a bit of a rundown of what your week might look like, and like from Monday through to Sunday, in terms of all the activities that you've got to do with beach volleyball, and see if there's any other time left over.
Yeah. Well, typically we'll go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday will be a gym. Typically we'll gym in the morning. So we'll do like a hour and a half gym in the morning. And then we'll come back, eat some lunch, hit the courts for probably anywhere from 2 hours to 2.5 hours. And then we'll have a nice little Wednesdays, our off day. We'll probably have time to do like meetings and stuff like that. But just for beach volleyball, that's what our schedule looks like. And then maybe we'll get a training on the weekend.
Hey, cruisy. That's pretty cool. I know for our bodies, we had to go like 3 days in a row and then have a day off. So we never really counted in the weekends. So we didn't do it like Monday to Friday. We just went 3 days full on and then had a day off, and 3 days full on and had a day off. So you've got plenty of time there to like downtime, I guess. What do you do in your downtime?
That is, I feel like right now there's just been so many just different like meetings come up. I don't know, more of kind of like the work side of things other than beach volleyball, just kind of gearing up and getting ready for the year. But other than that, I love a good Netflix series or stuff like that. Taryn and I will vlog a lot of our international trips. So in my off time, I will edit them. And I honestly have been bad about that because we have been busy, but that's something I'll do. And just the downtime is going through all the footage and everything that we take on all the trips.
Yeah, a lot of players don't realize that it's not just the training on the court and then the competing. Obviously, the traveling comes into it, but it's all the admin, right? Like you said, all these meetings, because you're like number two in the world, by the way, to anybody who didn't listen to the intro, but number two in the world, it does create a bit of a tension. And so, people want your time like I have today, but you've got interviews and then you start talking to sponsors and then you've got to keep them happy. Is that all the stuff that you're doing in all your admin time?
Oh yeah, and that's something I think I didn't fully expect or even know about going into like a professional beach volleyball career. So that's definitely been kind of a learning curve for Tara and I. Of just like, oh my goodness, no, like it's not just about like playing beach volleyball. You do have to do all of the other stuff off the court, which is it's kind of wild. And sometimes I think it's even funny. My like parents are like, "Whoa, like I didn't even know you guys did all this stuff." It's like yeah, it's definitely it can be a lot at times.
And do you like that stuff, or is it just a pain in the neck for you? Would you rather be on the sand, or do you actually enjoy doing the other stuff?
It's a little half and half. I don't mind the like the business side of it. I do think it is kind of fun because it is so different from just being out on the sand. So I do like the variety of it, but I mean I would always prefer just to be out playing on the sand.
Well, watch out when you win the Olympics. It's just going to take off. It's going to be like quadruple what you're doing now. So, and I say
Yeah,
when to everybody because it's never an if, right? You got to believe it in the beginning.
absolutely. You definitely have to believe it. I think that's something that Tara and I have even talked about. It's like, no, we do have to like we're gonna say we're gonna be gold medalists because we want to start like normalizing that. Like I feel like as a kid you say that, you're like, what? But now it's like, no, we're gonna normalize that and we're just gonna say it. Like that's the goal and how can we go achieve that now?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And obviously that was a big part of what Natalie and I did. We really a year and a half before the games, we started to imagine that we were Olympic gold medalists and we did everything like an Olympic gold medalist would do, and you'd ask yourself at the end of every day, did I act like an Olympic gold medalist today? So, yeah, you guys are definitely on that path, as are many other teams. And we'll talk about that in a sec. But can I just go back to how did you get started in beach volleyball? And we've got to say, and everyone points it out, you're 5'6", you're not one of the tallest players in the world. You're playing against these big old giants. Your partner is 6'5", so almost a whole foot taller than you. How did you pick volleyball? And did you get? Oh, I want to actually know: were you discriminated against in a sense in the very beginning, like people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't play. You're too short," whatever? How did you find all that?
So I started beach volleyball because one of my friends, all the local high schools in my area, they do a 6-man tournament, and one of my friends who is a longtime friend, and we played indoor volleyball together. She was like, "Hey, you want to play in the 6-man tournament?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, sounds fun." And we had a blast. And actually, the next day there was a women's doubles tournament. And she was like, "Hey, you want to play in that too?" And I was like, "Heck yeah!" And we went out and we got absolutely destroyed. Like every team like obliterated us because we were like trying to play indoor volleyball out there. I was like 16 years old. Um, but we both were like, this is amazing. And for me, again, kind of being undersized, I knew I wanted to play in college. I wanted to play something in college. And with indoor, it was strictly going to be a DS or a libero. And I was like, that just doesn't sound fun. Like, yes, I do. I enjoy like digging balls and stuff like that. But as far as there's just something that is like an adrenaline rush as far as just hitting a volleyball. And I was like, I really want to do that. So that's the part that really kept me in beach volleyball is the fact that you had to do all of the skills of volleyball. So I love that. And then as far as like people discriminating against me, I do think especially at the beginning of my career, whenever someone would look across the net, they'd be like, "Oh my goodness, yeah, we're definitely going to serve her." Just obviously from the height differential. I mean, whoever I played with was always significantly taller than me. So I always definitely use that as a little chip on my shoulder of like, "Oh no, I'm gonna prove you wrong and show you that, make you regret that you don't want to serve me," kind of thing.
So from that perspective, how do you approach the game? Like in terms of, um, with that in mind, knowing that you're going to get served, sorry, that's my dog in the background, knowing that you're going to get served, well, in the beginning, maybe, until they realize, well, no, she can side out better than anyone in the world. But yeah, how do you approach the game? Was it really strategic? Was it a physical thing? Or do you feel that it's like really about your emotions or the mental side? How would you break all that down?
I think all of it, I mean, it's kind of a mix, but a big factor is Drew Hamilton. He's my coach, and he's the basically my only coach that I've ever had in beach volleyball. Um, and the way he's like trained me to play, it's a very specific style. So it is like based on scenarios. It's like I just have to go out and execute this one thing. So it's very specific, and the mentality of it going in, like it could be daunting at times of like, oh no, I have to be perfect. But I mean, I kind of am a little perfectionist, and I do strive for that perfect ball. Um, but I don't even know if that fully answered the question. But a big thing I would just say is the coaching that I've had and just the work that happens at practice, that just carrying over into games and just having the mental ability to be okay with, say, them digging a ball, even though it's in a good spot and it makes their transition harder. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's just one little piece of your mentality, I guess, that you would, the ball's just going to come back. You're just going to keep going, chipping away, chipping away, chipping away until eventually it doesn't come back over the net. You just don't stop. Yeah, no, I love that. And physically, I know, wasn't there a test between you and a quarterback? Can you tell us about that and where that ended up?
It was actually, so yeah, I went to LSU, and it was actually a wide receiver, Jamar Chase. I think it was our first step or our reaction. Don't quote me. I don't know if it's the first step or the reaction time or if that's the same. But yeah, I think I had the same time or like slightly better time than he did as far as reaction. And when I found that out, I was mind blown. I was like, what? Like that is crazy. So yeah, that was a fun finding out of that. I thank my parents for good genes. That's what I say.
Yeah, your parents were both pretty good athletes, yeah?
They were. They didn't play anything professionally or anything like that, but they definitely they each of them played like all different sports. So they were definitely athletic. I give them a lot of credit.
Are you the youngest of your siblings?
I am. I have three older brothers, so that was
Ah.
a fun time growing up. Always just being the little sister, and to them, I always say I'm gonna let them fight to be who's the best male athlete in the family, but I'm gonna take the female, and then I'm like I'm safe saying that.
And of course, you're always fighting to like get the attention with three boys as well on the, yeah, just even at the dining table. I can imagine them all, going for the food and leaving whatever else you get last.
Yeah, no, it was a fun dynamic. We have fun with it, and we're all super close. So it was
Yeah,
just a fun childhood growing
yeah,
up.
yeah. And it helps when you've got all that around you. So tell us about college. So you went to LSU, Louisiana State University, and you were the winningest player throughout your 4 years there. And you only did you play with Taryn for 1 year, only the last year? Is that right?
Correct. Yep. When COVID happened, everything went crazy, obviously, and then when we both came back for our COVID year, that's when we played together. I had only played with one other person, so in my collegiate career, I've only played with two people.
Yeah. And then you played with a couple of others on the AVP just to kind of fill in here and there. But Taryn was always the one that you wanted to partner with, and she wanted to partner with you. What do you think is so special about your bond on and off the court?
I think it's funny because I feel like we've been reminiscing and just talking about that so much, and it was just wild, just how it all worked out. Like it was in part to COVID that we're playing together because she was at home in South Dakota. It was super cold. She called me and was like, "Hey, can I come train?" I was like, "Yeah." And we just went and started playing in these tournaments, and we were friends beforehand, but then when we played on the court, it just worked. It was just like, oh wow, yeah, this is fun, and we were just enjoying it so much. We were having success, but it was also we were just having so much fun on the court, and even it carried over then off the court. Like we were just became best friends. I mean, I now say like she is literally my sister, like hands down. I now have a full sister. I mean, I had all the brothers, but now I do have a sister. Um, and I think that does help us so much. It is that chemistry that we do have off the court. You can see it carry over. Like we play our best when you can see us just like laughing and just having a good time on the court. So yeah, that definitely I think sets us apart from some of the other teams because Tara and I spend every single second pretty much together. Like we live together, we go to training together, we travel together. Yeah. So it's a fun
It
time.
certainly takes the pressure off, I reckon, if you have that great connection. And if you don't have as perfect connection, then there's so much more work to be done in how you know communicate with each other on the court, and it does take up energy, like it's emotional energy. So the fact that you have that great connection, that you kind of, it's like meeting meeting the person that you're supposed to be with for the
Yeah.
rest, the one, you know, but
Yeah.
it's
I
the
mean,
one.
it really is.
Volleyball.
I feel like beach volleyball so much is like a dating slash marriage. We joke about that all the time. It really is.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see. So your meteoric rise, we've got to talk about that. So I first met you guys. I don't know if you remember meeting me in Coolangatta, but I may have come and said something to you. I was sitting in a air conditioned van doing the commentary, so I barely came out onto the court. But I remember you guys coming from the bottom place of the qualifier, no points, all the way through. You'd come all the way out to Australia in the middle of the winter, so it was a big risk and a big expense, and then coming all the way through and winning the final. And I just remember thinking, you guys are gutsy for a start for doing that. And now you've got some really good points. But the other thing I thought was you both really raw, and there's so much, like, especially Taryn. I think you obviously still were, you know, had more experience at that point, but Taryn was still learning the game. And I just thought, holy moly, like this team has just in one tournament gone from here to here. Like, what's going to happen? Can you believe the meteoric rise that you've had over the last couple of years?
No, even that tournament, it really was. Honestly, Taryn was supposed to be playing with someone else in that
Really?
tournament because it was we couldn't get in. We both had 0 points, so it was honestly like Taryn. No, like someone asked her to play, and it was like you have to do it. We did not want to split up. We were like, no, we're gonna do it. But it got to a point where we were like, oh my goodness, we're not gonna be able to get into these tournaments. And so someone asked her, and I was like, Taryn, you got to go. And then just so happens that Australia was very strict with their COVID rules. So I was actually then able to get in because the other person couldn't go. And yeah, we started last in the qualifier. So we literally found all that out about like a week and a half before the tournament. And we booked the flights and just flew across the world. And it definitely was a financial, not the smartest thing. But it was all we cared about were those 400 points, and it was like what is even happening. I think after that tournament it was like whoa, like, and then that elevated us into the challenge level tournaments. And yeah, I think we were just so much in it that we weren't even thinking. It was just like, okay, next tournament, boom, here we go. All right, next tournament. We were like planning other tournaments while we were in the middle of one. It was that whole season was just absolutely insane.
And did you have help, like, with all that planning, or were you just taking it all on just the two of you? And obviously Drew was helping you on the court, but
It was just the two of us. And honestly, we both are very we're both planners, so we do it is a lot, but we also both love like to know like our own travel and everything like that. And I typically when we say that to people, they're like, "Whoa, what?" Cuz yeah, we were like, "No, it's just the two of us like booking all of our stuff." Um but that was also just kind of the fun side of it, and
mm.
I feel like that was us just having just two friends like booking trips just around the world. Yeah, it
It
was
is.
we had a good time.
Yeah, it has been just like two friends, and you just happen to be playing volleyball while you're at some other country, and you're blogging about your food. I see you've got an Instagram account that you blog about your food. What's it called? The Chronicles, Food Chronicles.
Yeah, Food Chronicles with Nuss. Yep, I
uh,
do. I've become a big foodie, that's for sure.
oh, that's good. It's great to have other things on the side, and you know, because you can get so focused and so kind of into this whole journey, because you have to be, right? Because there's so many good teams in the world now. But to have all those, elements, it sounds like you've got all those little elements together. I was going to ask you, do you think that you're a good player?
Yes, I think to be an elite athlete, you definitely have to think that. But I do think there are other people out there that I'm like, oh, like they're better than me at this, or there's little things like that of like, oh, she's a really good server. I want to be just like her. I want to be better than her. Like, but I do think to be an elite athlete, you have to have that confidence in yourself. And because as soon as you are not confident and you try and walk on the court, like all that you mentioned, how good all of these other teams, like they're just going to eat you up and then spit you out because they will just see that you kind of crumble a little bit. So I guess to answer the question, yes, but not fully.
Yeah,
there's
because you're
always
a perfectionist.
there's
Yeah,
always ways to do better.
absolutely. I don't think anyone at the top would ever think that that's it. It's kind of like, oh, okay, where's the next peak that I can climb when you get to the top?
Exactly.
On that, how much of the game do you think is physical? If you had like out of 100 or even out of 10, whatever's easy, but how much do you think is physical? How much do you think is mental? And how much do you think is, I was going to say, let's say mental and emotional together, and the other half strategic. So physical, mental, emotional together, and strategic at this level.
I think physical, I'm gonna go, shoot, that's hard. I would go just physically and mentally. I would say physical 60, mental 40%. So 60-40. But then what was the other one?
A strategic.
Oh, strategic. I feel like I would classify that with physical.
Okay.
So I think I would put physical strategic as 60 and then mental 40.
Yeah.
So a nice 60-40%.
That's a good split. Yeah, mental is, so in other words, mental is huge, and I think people don't get that.
Absolutely. That was the biggest adjustment for me. I think going from college to professional was just the mental side of like these teams are very good and you have to be on like 100% of the time. And in college, there are times where you could have like taken a playoff or something like that, but it was like, no, like this is a lot. You're also flying across the world and you have to show up. Like in the qualifiers, like you fly across the world, you lose and you're out. And she's like, whoa, that's wild.
Zero money for that.
Yeah, seriously.
So on that, how do you prepare yourself for that mental pressure? I guess, you're going into, for instance, last year, the Doha finals that you won and you got the biggest prize purse of the year. I think, was it 30 grand for the team?
For the World Tour finals?
Yeah, the World Tour finals.
150 grand.
Oh, 30 grand? What am I saying? 150
grand for EP16s.
Yes, that's right. Crazy prize purse. I hope you're putting it away for a rainy day, and not spending it on your nails. No, I'm sure you're not. How do you get yourself ready for that sort of pressure before you get on the court?
I think it's so easy to say, like, just walk in like it's any other game. But I think what that is kind of what Taryn and I did. It was like, we're just going to go play our game. And it's like the easiest thing to say. And when you say that to people, they're like, oh yeah, but it really was. We were just like, hey, like I'd look at her, she'd look at me and be like, hey, it's you and me. It's literally you and me against the world. Like, let's go do it. And I think we had that just ability to rely on each other and just kind of keep everything like tight knit with us, that we never let all of the like, oh my goodness, we're in a qualifier. Like if we don't win this game, we're out. It wasn't like that. It was like, no, we're gonna go win. Like we get to go play this game of beach volleyball. It's a fun game. Like let's go have fun with it. Um, so yeah, just we kind of let the pressure stay outside of our bubble, and we kept our bubble very tight knit.
Yeah, so I think the key there is like a couple of things I heard was you and Taryn together against the rest of the world, not you against the rest of the world and Taryn against the rest of the world. It's you together, and you're in that bubble. And sometimes when people ask me about like when we won in Sydney, all the pressure of being in a home country, we'd never had a tournament that huge in our country ever. We'd never had that many people screaming, wanting us to win. I actually pictured that in the last match, we were in this bubble just on our side of the court and it was made out of glass. And I remember thinking when the last ball landed out and we won, and it was kind of like that glass just then shattered and landed next to me. And I looked up, and all of a sudden, everybody's faces in the crowd came into focus for me. So it was that. I mean, for me, that's what is the ultimate of being in the zone, right? If you can
Yeah,
create that where
absolutely.
nothing else can kind of penetrate your bubble. I love that. So when things aren't going well and there's no bubble and your focus is way out in the crowd, or you're thinking about, are you going to get an upgrade on the way home because you got really, got a bad back or something?
Yeah.
How do you get yourself, if it's happening in a game, obviously not that thought, but something else, if it's happening in a game, do you have any tools or any skills or anything that you can share that you get yourself back in, like, something physical or a word, or what do you do?
Honestly, I'm wearing one wristband right now, but we typically, Tara and I each have a wristband, and for this past year, my word was trust. And it was just to trust myself, trust our training, trust Taryn, like she's going to do her job. Um, and that just having it on my wrist, I mean, when you're in serve receive, you always look down, you see it kind of thing. And that was just something that we do work with a sports psychologist, and he brought that up because there were times where in sticky situations, like Taryn would like tell me when I was like not siding out or something, Taryn would like tell me something and it would just make me like angry and it like wouldn't help at all. But with that wristband, it was something easy that Taryn could be like, hey, read that wristband. And it was like, oh my goodness, yes. Like it was just a nice little reset. And that is definitely something I tell people. It's just so easy because again, it's always there. It's just a simple word, and like you can pick that word. We honestly had like 6 different wristbands that we would kind of decide what we wanted to wear before each game. But I always kept going with trust, and Taryn always wore confidence, and so that's just like one little easy
Yeah.
thing that really does. It just helps you just kind of when you are just struggling in the moment. I mean, there's gonna be times. No one is perfect. There will be times where you're in a rut or something, and just a little word like that can kind of help reset everything.
Yeah, and I love that the two together are really form a strong team bond, like trust and confidence. Like, what more do you need to be,
Yeah.
the best team you can be? Um, what does winning mean to you? Like, how important is winning, and how do you feel when you don't win?
I've always said I hate losing more than I like winning, and that is 100% the truth. Losing, I think the world is ending. Like it's terrible. I've definitely gotten better over the years, but as far as what is winning, I think it just shows that everything is worth it. All the work we're putting in, just the honestly, there's so many sacrifices. Like last year, we were traveling so much, so didn't really get to spend a lot of time with family and stuff like that. But when we win and we get to just stand up on that podium, it is like, wow, this is all worth it. And just like, oh my goodness. Um, but yeah, it's just
Can you, can you,
being on the podium. What
yeah,
was
I was
that?
gonna say, can you actually picture yourself on the podium in Paris? Is that something that you're starting to feel and do? And how long have you
I
been?
think that is something I've been picturing probably since I was like 10 years old. um, seriously, any time, especially I'll hear our national anthem. I literally immediately I just can see myself on the podium at the Olympics with an American flag just
on the
rising up
on the
on
top
the top,
podium?
on the
Yeah,
top.
just checking.
And it gives me goosebumps every single time. So
Yeah,
it's definitely been It would be a dream come true for sure, and something I've thought about for many, many years.
Yeah, and is Taryn the same? Has she thought about that too? Because she was kind of indoor, and then she fell in love with beach. But is she on the same level with you on that thought?
Yes, hers was probably more so when I say I'm 10. When she was 10, it probably was indoor,
Yeah,
100%. Um, but yeah, she definitely, I think we honestly say the same thing anytime we hear like the national anthem. It is like something, it's like we're immediately like, boom, we're at the Olympics on the podium. We won a gold medal. Like it's
yeah.
definitely something we visualize.
I just love that so much because I know there are so many athletes out there and just people that stop themselves from dreaming because they just don't have they just can't feel comfortable with saying that they can win a gold medal, with saying that they can be the best in whatever they want to be. And because they're afraid that if it doesn't happen, that they're going to be a failure, that it's just going to be all over. And I remember people saying to me after, I know we did a lot of that as well. And we had a plan, we called it our gold medal excellence plan. And, when I talk to people about that, they say, what would have happened if you hadn't have won? And I would have said, well, and I think about that quite a bit. And I would have said, well, I guess I still would have been really happy. I obviously wouldn't have enjoyed losing, but when you kind of have time and you come down, I would have realized that I'd done absolutely everything to try and win. And I think that's the satisfying part, the only part you can take from losing. But if you don't want to like be on the silver or the bronze and go, God, I wish we had done this or we should have done that, or I just really couldn't say it out loud that I wanted to be a gold medalist.
Yeah, wow. I really do like that because I feel like probably 2 years ago I would have been in that boat of like, oh, like I don't do I really want to like say that? Um, but and that's what I was talking about earlier, how it is like, no, we want to like normalize like our goal is to go win a gold medal. And we want to be confident when we say that and believe that. And I really do I love that answer or what you said. Like even if it doesn't happen, like I don't want to have any regrets of like, oh, I wish I would have done
Yeah.
X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
So no, I really do like that.
Yeah, and belief, when if you then break that number 10, how many out of 10? Belief, there's got to be two or three or four out of 10. There's got to be belief when you're going into a game to win as well. The game's obviously changed over the last few years. As a commentator, I've seen it. I obviously don't play anymore, but how do you think it's changed? And do you think there's any more change that you can foresee in the future?
Mm. I feel like it's a little more strategic, um, just in like shot placement and also so strategic, but also just the physicality. I feel like people are just like do some crazy things. As far as it evolving and changing even more. I'm curious if the jump setting kind of transitions over into the women's game. That would be interesting. I know a couple people have done it here and there,
Yeah, I've
but
seen a few teams try it with the women. You've got to be so athletic, right, to be able to make it pay off. And it takes so much
absolutely,
energy too. You've got to be so extremely fit. Um,
yeah.
but I wonder,
Um,
is there anything more you can add? Because a lot of teams hitting on two, hitting the option ball, and it's just setting the ball over on two. A few of the crazy things that we did like 20 years ago, that everybody would just be like, "What was that?"
I,
What
I,
can we add? What can change? Like over on
I
one?
guess, yeah. Oh, some over on one kept will catch people by surprise. Um, maybe I mean some people do it here and there now, but just I could see a lot more just crazy things offensively of like more so I feel like the guys kind of already do it, but the women's side just like people running like shoot back sets just kind of I don't know, could be interesting. We'll see what happens.
Just getting more creative. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
that's what I love about the sport so much is you can really create anything you want. You don't have to play a standard up and down game. You can play to your own strengths. So if you're not able to be creative, don't be creative. Just be really good at what you can do.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
that's definitely Karen and I. We are not creative.
Well, you are in your own sense because you're obviously very creative in defense, and she's creative at the net in terms of her style of play at the net as well. And in that, what's your favorite part of the game?
Oh, I do love defense.
Oh,
I love just running down a ball. That just honestly all of it, just running down the ball, laying out, and then having to get up and transition out of that. I think it's just so fun. Obviously, especially when you score. um, but just defense, just the sitting back there and being like, all right, what you got? That's that's fun.
so how many, and you don't have to tell us what they are, because obviously there might be some of your competitors watching. How many different strategies do you have in defense? Like in terms of, you've got your line, your cross, your this, that, and the other. How many different plays do you guys have?
I would honestly, it's not super many. I would say it's probably anywhere from 5 to 6.
Yeah,
It's not.
that's still good. That's still quite a few.
Yeah.
I'd say most teams would be around that. You have to remember a lot if you got too many more.
Yeah. Seriously. Oof.
And are they based on your skills, or do you base them on what's happening on the other side of the net?
Probably majority of what's happening on the other side of the net. Just kind of what team we're up against and what. Yeah.
Do you have any, again, you don't have to tell us what they are until after you've won a gold medal. Do you have any that are really different to what other people are doing, like some like really secretive ones that we wouldn't even be able to tell that you made happen? Or are they pretty standard?
I think pretty standard. I don't know. I could be lying
Yeah.
to all the people here. I don't know. No, I think they're pretty standard.
Yeah, I just remember Natalie and I, because we split blocked, and we had some funny ones, but they happened by accident one day at training, and we went, oh, I wonder if that could actually be a real strategy. And we had to kind of act it out where we were stumbling and making them do something. Anyway, it worked.
Yeah,
We used it occasionally, and we would just laugh every time it worked.
that's awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, shoot, Tanner and I could come out split blocking this year. We'd really
Yeah.
throw everyone for a loop.
That would make everybody crazy. And you know what? They'd probably shoot the ball to Taryn. She'd dig it on her feet.
Exactly.
So what are you going to do after you win?
That part, I don't know. I know I will enjoy it all with my family. That is number one. A lot of them are coming to Paris, and I think that would be the first thing, honestly, would just be look in the stands, finding my parents, and giving them a big hug.
Yeah, lovely. I just love that you're so confident, and that's why I kept kind of asking those winning stories, because I just want all athletes of all levels to have that sort of confidence that you can kind of see that something's going to happen and know that if it doesn't quite happen, just get up and go again. Because I mean, someone like you said, coming through college, being one of the shorter players, and and coming through so fast now, on the world tour, to being number 2 in the world. And I think, did you hit number 1 and then you just flip flop a couple of times with?
I don't know if we ever actually got to one.
Oh, there's a
I
goal.
think, yeah, Luca and Anna Patricia definitely have they've locked that one up. They're a solid team.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate that, chat. I've got 10 more quick serve questions for you. I'm just going to fire them at you. So
Oh boy.
you don't need long answers, just see whatever comes to mind. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Quick serve. Favorite moment in your volleyball career today?
Oh, winning Uberlandia Brazil, the first Elite 16. That was a fun one.
Most admired beach volleyball player, male or female?
Laura Ludwig.
Favorite tournament destination?
Stad. It's just so pretty. Stad, Switzerland.
It's pretty much everybody's, I think.
Yep.
I think you've already answered it, but what do you think your best skill is?
I would probably say defense.
Favorite and best together. Did you try Vegemite when you were in Australia?
I did. I think I did. They gave us when we were in Torquay. They gave us. I think I said that right. they gave us like a little snack or something like every day, and I'm pretty sure that was one of them. And I tried it. I cannot say I was a fan of it, but I did try
No
it.
one ever is. No one ever is. Your favorite pre-match meal or snack?
Oh, a solid peanut butter and jelly.
Post-match.
Classic.
Post-match.
Post match. Oh, is this like a post match after we win, or just a any post match?
Any post-match favorite?
um, I would just go with a nice bolognese pasta.
Pretty standard big bowl of pasta. And when you win,
I
what is it? Is it an ice cream or
would
something?
say, I would say carrot cake.
Oh, carrot cake. Love it.
Yep.
What type of music do you listen to?
I'm a big country music fan.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Luke Combs, favorite guy.
Before a match, do you socialize or do you keep to yourself?
I'd keep to myself unless I mean Taryn and I will talk if that's socializing, but more so keep to myself.
And last question, what do you want to do when you grow up or when you retire, we should say?
That is a great question. I don't fully know. Would love to do many different things. Maybe open my own restaurant. Maybe be a coach. That is definitely not a quick serve answer because I don't fully know. There's many things.
I'm sure there's lots of kids out there that would love for you to be a coach, lots of other players, because you've got plenty of knowledge already and you're still at the beginning of your journey. So thank you so much. Really loved chatting to you. Maybe we'll talk again before Paris, but have a great season in the lead up to the 2024 Olympics.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure. Pleasure, pleasure.
Cool. Well, that's the official part. What questions do you have for me?
Oh, I would love to know just what I mean, I feel like you did kind of touch on your kind of mentality just going into the Olympics kind of thing, especially or just advice for a first since I'm a first timer. I mean, everyone is keeps saying like you can't prepare for the amount of pressure that will be at the games and just like mentality wise. So yeah, I was
Well,
just curious.
yeah. First of all, don't listen to people say you can't do anything because you can prepare. And even if you're there and something throws you, this you can still like you can still prepare while you're there. You can still adjust. So for us, it was 10,000 people screaming for us when we'd never had that before. We'd played in front of Brazil and they were cheering against, what it's like playing in Brazil, and they're swearing and they're throwing things on the court, in some places that we played in. So in Australia, where everyone's going, yay, and then you lose a point and everyone's like, oh, it's just as loud. So we were riding this roller coaster. So after our first match, when it really freaked us out and we got really scared, we actually went and spoke to another Australian athlete who we said, who do we know, an Australian athlete in the Olympics that has probably come back to Australia after playing in another country and having, not having the support, and then coming to Australia and realizing this support, and who's been able to deal with it. And so we picked a tennis player, Patrick Rafter. I don't know if you remember that name, but he won the US Open probably a year or two before that, and he was on the Olympic team. So we went and chatted to him. We didn't know him, but we got our trainers to speak to his trainers. So straight away, we were trying to fix whatever was happening. So what was happening was we were getting annoyed by, not annoyed, but it was affecting us, all the people.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and chatted with him and a few of the other tennis players, and they just sat down and told us stories about how they dealt with it. And that's where I got that idea of having this cocoon of silence. It was like, do you remember Get Smart? It was a movie, but in my day, it was like a series, way. And it was Agent 86 and Agent 99, these two, it was kind of a comedy thing. And they'd actually go into this cone of silence, and it was like a glass cone. It would just drop down on top of them in this thing. So I imagined that when I went back out there, that we were in this cone of silence. And Pat said, just look at each other, make sure you have a lot of eye contact, and then, play together as a team. Be aware of the other team, obviously, but don't let the rest of the atmosphere come into your bubble, basically.
Yep.
So
Wow.
I I think the key was there, don't just let things happen to you, even when you get to the games. Like, find solutions while you're there as well, because it's not like you can still work things out.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. Awesome.
Yeah.
I also did you was there a lot of like mingling within all of the athletes? Like, do you get to talk with the other athletes, or is it like, oh no, don't talk to me?
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement because obviously, and it depends on when your first match is and what your thoughts are on that. Whether you walk in the opening ceremony, it depends on all the circumstances. We actually weren't going to be allowed to walk in the opening ceremony. Our national federation didn't want us to, and we pleaded with them to do it because we'd done it in the 96 Olympics and it was so inspiring. It was so unbelievable walking out into the stadium, 150,000 people screaming when you come out into this stadium. Didn't matter what country you were, everybody. And it was like a massive kind of big thing, but it's all the preparations for it. Like, you get in your all your gear, and you meet all the other, and standing around waiting for the buses, and you're chatting with everybody else because all your athletes, they'll all be decked out and you'll be wearing the same stuff. So you'll be able to say, oh, what sport are you? What sport are you? Oh, yeah. Or you might recognize someone famous and go and get a selfie or whatever. And it's pretty cool, that whole atmosphere of being, within the Olympics, the opening ceremony and the village. And it depends whether you'll stay in the village. Some athletes, some sports decide not to stay in the village. But if you are in the village, I'd stay, soak it up. Like in 96, our first Olympics in Atlanta, that was something that we were a bit worried about. Like, it's our first one. It's like, woo, everything's so exciting. So we talked about that. We talked about the fact that we didn't want to block it out and not do all the stuff and try to, stay in the bubble in the village. We wanted to experience the whole Olympic and then be able to get into our bubble when we needed to. So talk about all that. And I'm sure that your federation and your Olympic committee are going to have, seminars, workshops, whatever, to help all the athletes with that sort of stuff. But for us, it was important to, and I think it sounds like you guys do the same thing, is to enjoy the journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we had that, like we had hang on, I'll go get it. Do you want me to show you our gold medal excellence plan?
Yeah,
I'll just
that'd be cool.
Hang on. So we did what you were saying, you guys are doing and talking about being gold medalists. Well, I'm going to turn this backdrop off. Hang on.
Yep.
Round none. Okay.
Nice. What time is it there?
It is almost 1 p.m.
Nice.
So that's our gold medal excellence. Wow. So we set it out in Olympic rings, and we had our little team name. We called ourselves the Dream Machine because we figured, our coach said to us one day, guys need a name. And we said, we've got a name. It's Pothast and Cook, or Cook and Pothast, or whatever. No, you need a team name. All great teams have a team name. I like you guys, TKN. That's your team name, right? But so we ended up coming up with this, and we called ourselves the Dream Machine because it was our dream to turn our bronze into gold. And we were a machine of 5 people. So we had 3 coaches. We had a volleyball coach, a conditioning coach, and we had our mental coach, who wasn't actually a sports psychologist. He was a world record firewalker, Anthony Robbins type guy. So he was a personal development guy. So he did all the stuff with us. And his part of the puzzle for us, he was the final piece of the puzzle that locked everything in and made it sense, was all about mindset. He was all about mindset. Like, his words helped me become one of the fastest and most accurate servers in the world because he helped me change the way I was thinking about it. And then I did the reps, and then he helped me with what I had to think about to make sure I was more accurate, because I had a fast serve, but it wasn't as accurate. So the mindset part obviously was so important, but he helped us put this plan together, and it had 4 kind of sections. It had our purpose, our code of conduct, which were the rules we needed to abide by, had our winning way, which was, we knew that to win a gold medal, you actually have to beat every team in the world. You just have to. So you have to know how you're going to do that. So those in the green circle, they were all the things that we had to do to beat every team in the world. And then the red circle was who we had to be. So it was our characteristics. So what type of person is capable of winning an Olympic gold medal? And we just lived this. We lived this for 18 months. That was our plan. And our slogan was, how can we make it better? Instead of, letting 2 or 3 points frustrate you for another 10 minutes, okay, how can we fix it? How can we make it better? Like when the crowd got to us, and how can we make it better? We'll go speak to another athlete who's done it before. So
that is awesome. I love it. Man.
So
wow.
It sounds like you guys are fully like on that same path, which I really love. And I hope everybody else is, because it's going to be the most amazing like clash of titans, because you're all going to be trying to peak at your best physically, mentally, and strategically and emotionally. And at the end of the day, whoever can stay in their bubble, I reckon, like you said.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm excited. It's also like just crazy, but very, very excited.
Well, it sounds like you guys are pretty grounded too, which I think is important. Is you're not letting it get to your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try not to.
Cool.
I feel like that's what helps when we have each other. We're both kind of in the same.
Yeah, I just stopped recording.